Hey, Miss Kirkland. So I'm doing a video game review on a horror game called The Tower, and it's earned the title of one of the worst horror games ever reviewed on Steam. And now, since I don't have any money on Steam to buy the game because it costs like $3.23, I decided to do the next best thing and watch a gameplay on it on YouTube by my favorite YouTube gamer, Dom Plays, who is known to be a horror fanatic just like me, only better. So now, just by looking at the screenshots of the game, the graphics look really clean, and which to any gamer is one of the most important things when it comes to creating a video game, right after gameplay and game functionality. Now, at the beginning of the game, it says to adjust brightness on the screen so you can see the skull shown on the screen. Now, usually, most video games, mainly horror genres, have some sort of slider on the side of the screen so you can change the brightness of the screen without changing the settings on your monitor or desktop computer, whatever you use. This is not one of those games, which, to be honest, is a bit of little inconvenience. Then you'll see a very realistic looking eyeball at the beginning, and that's moving around, and it look just as if looking for something, which is really pretty good so far for a game that costs more than $3. We're having one of the worst reviews on Steam. And in the background, you can hear someone first. You hear what sounds like a big metal-like door opening, along with heavy footsteps. Then you can hear a man, I think in his late 30s to early mid 40s, with a British accent, saying, "Get this." Sorry for the language. "Get this bastard up." Then you can hear, or "We're taking you somewhere lovely." And judging from the sounds of it, the voice acting is really good and detailed, and not as robotic and stale like the sound of Google reading something from Google Translate like I expected. Now, what I've seen and heard so far up until the title card, the settings seem to be in some sort of dungeon or prison, which makes sense given the name of the game is The Tower. And you can hear, and as you hear someone, I'm guessing the person we're playing as, says, "Please, what has meant to have damned me so? In the king's name, what am I accused of?" Which makes me think that it takes place somewhere in 11th century England. Now, with the voice acting, if my timeline guess is correct in the game, the accent is spot on, the voice is clean, and can be heard very clearly, and the vocabulary, which I cannot repeat on this, is pretty accurate given the presumed timeline. Now, with the screen will say that the game is based on true events, which is very interesting. And the Englishman was named Elliot. Now, the control of was named Elliot and was imprisoned for treason and is held in a fortified keep somewhere located in Surrey, London, England. So far, the storyline is pretty good. Now, the control directions at the beginning of the game are pretty simple. However, after getting the objective to escape the tower when you're moving, you at some point hit an invisible wall, but it's easy to get past. Now, we get a narration of the story while you're playing, but the narration goes on a little too fast and has spoiled some events that have not yet happened, which is almost dying from some sort of fall near the tower exit, I think. Again, another screen full of context saying that the character Elliot suffered another cruel misfortune by falling down through through the prison's ancient stonework and nearly drowns under untold years of rank solid water, and is now forced to seek both light and higher ground by the dark and forgotten caves of the tower. Now, I may not be a game designer, but I think they could have found a way to make the storyline function without any constant play-by-play or continuous context being shown on the screen. For any horror gamers out there, you might be familiar with a game called Bendy and the Ink Machine. Now, somewhere in the beginning of the game, the main protagonist, Henry, falls through a crappy floorboards of the abandoned Joey Drew Studios while running from the demonic Inky Bendy and towards the exit. And last time I checked, the storyline only needed a few voice lines from the character, but never a constant play-by-play or continuous screen full of context. Because he would be able to figure out, and we would be able to figure out and see that, oh, he fell through some crappy floorboards and we'll need to find some other exit. So we could have worked without that. And to make matters worse, remember how in the beginning of the game you had to adjust the brightness settings on your monitor to be able to see the skulls on the screen, showing that you would be able to see clearly throughout the game? Well, on your monitor, you would be able to, now where you've fallen is completely black. You can't see a thing. And to the point to where you're just practically guessing to where you're supposed to be going. And if you somehow manage to find the path where you're supposed to be going, you hit yet another unnecessary play-by-play and another invisible wall, just like in the beginning of the game. And to get through that, you had to use the crouch, which is not obvious to figure out. And to be honest, it's sort of kind of hard to figure out when to crouch or sprint or anything really when the game doesn't give you any voice lines that would actually help the player know what exactly to do, exactly do. Now, you'll get to a point in the game to where the player needs to rest by playing or pressing the spacebar. Now, after some time of resting, you'll find that the mouse can no longer move, and you'll have to use the keyboard to navigate through the game. So far, we've already come across a few bugs in the game, and now I've noticed that during the game, they have some pretty decent background music for the worst reviewed game on Steam. But then again, now after you'll begin to wander around the place a bit, trying to find a door that you're supposed to go through to find your family that are trapped in the tower as well as you, and find the exit. While you've come across one or two people in the tower, after you use the key that you found to open one of the doors, you'll hear a female voice saying Elliot, which I assume is his wife. Then you suddenly see the screen go to a viewing of some mountains and trees with a silhouette of the tower on one of the mountains. Then you appear on the back at the main menu, and that's where the game ends. Now I can see why the game is not really worth the $3.23. Now in the beginning of the game, it was pretty good with the clean graphics, and it's clear with an accurate voice line, but in the end it wouldn't even be worth the free download of the game, because even though the narration was good, there was just way too much it was just way too constant and unnecessary, not to mention that the motion through the storyline was too short and simple, and if that makes any sense. Plus, the game was so short, yet at the beginning of the game, it said episode 1, which makes no sense whatsoever. So, with the Steam review system, massive thumbs down. And on a scale of 1 to 5 stars, I would give it a big stinking 1 out of 5. So, yeah, that's my review on the worst reviewed game on Steam called The Tower. Don't ever buy the game. It's just not worth it, alright? So I hope that's good for this project, and yeah, see you.